Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin in Nunavut, where the only store in Whale Cove has burnt to the ground, triggering a state of emergency. Most of the supplies for the hamlet's roughly 500 residents went up in smoke during the early morning fire. Samuel Watt reports.
I just wanted to share this devastating news with you all.
The news that nobody wanted to wake up to. The hamlet's only store gutted.
It houses the fuel store. The post office is located inside, and it's our only grocery store.
Though they did manage to move out anything hazardous.
I believe there's still bullets back there. Yep.
But much has perished in the flames, and with it, anxiety about what happens next.
What about this check I was waiting for in the mail? You know, what about supplies for my baby? You know, it's absolutely heartbreaking.
Arctic Cooperatives, which owns the store, says discussions are underway to fly in supplies. A temporary centre is also being set up at the local community hall to store them, and other co-op stores in the territory are also pitching in to help with stock.
You have our commitment from the Arctic Co-op Federation that we will support the community any way we possibly can.
Part of the community was out of power for hours. The fire had spread from the store to a nearby power pole, though the cause of the fire is yet to be confirmed. That, on top of the other work to replenish the lost goods and infrastructure, will require help from outside the community. But that could prove a problem. Last summer, a fire ripped through the Tavani Inn's North Hotel. That still hasn't reopened. But John Main, the MLA, believes in the community's resilience.
Whale Cove is such a strong and beautiful community that I'm confident that, you know, we will get through this.
The state of emergency means the territorial government can mobilise extra resources. Main says the government is prepared to ask the feds if more help is needed to help the community through the days and months to come. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Hikilwit.
A dangerous synthetic drug has made its way to the Northwest Territories. It's called parafluorofentanyl, and it's an opioid very similar to fentanyl. It was found during a drug seizure in late July. RCMP recovered it and other drugs from a vehicle en route to Yellowknife. The Territory's Chief Public Health Officer says this is a worrying development, especially because the drug was found in its pure form.
The first time we've seen parafluorofentanyl, and it's the first time in a long time that we've seen this drug entering in its purest form and targeted towards Yellowknife. So there could be a shift that we're seeing in the drug industry. So I don't know if it was going to be sold in its pure form or if it was going to be added to other drugs, but it is a cause of concern, especially when we're looking at how vulnerable we are in the Northwest Territories to the change in drug industry, and seeing since 2016 we've seen about 27 opioid-related overdose deaths or poisonings.
That was the NWT's Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Cami Candola. Candola says overdoses can be stopped with naloxone, and kits are available in communities across the Northwest Territories. New restrictions on nicotine pouches came into effect this week, and there's already backlash. The rules are designed to protect young people, but some smokers trying to quit say the products help them, and the new measures are an overreaction. Marina von Stackelberg has the latest.
29-year-old Zach Lang has been smoking since he was a teenager. So when flavored nicotine pouches appeared in convenience stores a year ago, he says they felt safer than cigarettes.
To me, it always felt like the nicotine pouches were sort of the lesser of two evils.
The small white packet, which goes by the brand name Zonic, is placed between a person's cheek and gums. That releases what doctors say is the nicotine equivalent of smoking multiple cigarettes, but with no tobacco.
I really liked them. I mean, they didn't make me feel ill like tobacco products would at times.
Lang says he understands the need to keep them away from children, but says the new restrictions go too far. Now that nicotine pouches are unavailable in convenience stores, even to adults.
I can't understand why, actually. Why can't you cancel cigarettes?
Now those bright-colored packages enticing to kids are off the shelves, something health advocates argued for.
We can't expect a gas station attendant to provide smoking cessation advice the way we can from a health professional.
Only mint can be bought from a pharmacist. Fruity flavors are completely recalled. Some say that could make it harder for those who are using Zonic to quit.
Often adult smokers trying to quit will pick fruitier flavors or flavors that are not mint or not tobacco flavor.
The maker of Zonic, Imperial Tobacco, argues the ban could also encourage an illegal market.
I remind everybody that we are the only approved nicotine pouch in Canada.
Canada's health minister says unlike other products already authorized to help you quit smoking, like nicotine gum or patches, these pouches were targeting youth. And some teenagers who had never smoked a cigarette before were trying them. That's why he says these restrictions need to be so tough. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
BC Hydro is still filling its Site C dam, and the NWT government is keeping a close eye on what that means for water levels in the territory. They don't expect it'll have a significant impact beyond dropping Great Slave Lake temporarily by 8.5 centimeters. That's a fraction of what the recent drought has done to the lake. The CBC's Shannon Scott spoke with the NWT's chief hydrologist about what his team is preparing for.
It's a one-time filling of a reservoir, and after the reservoir is filled, then precipitation will continue to move through the Peace River Basin, as it usually does, and into Great Slave Lake.
So from a professional standpoint, are you worried about the Site C reservoir and the dam?
I wouldn't say I'm worried about it. We're definitely watching it, though, and we're going to look at what the impact on Great Slave Lake is, especially right now because because water levels are record low on Great Slave Lake this time of year, and water levels on the Mackenzie River are influenced by water levels on Great Slave Lake. So we're going to be watching it closely and trying to assess the impacts of the reservoir on water levels on Great Slave Lake, and it does get a little bit difficult to tease apart the direct impact of Site C on Great Slave Lake when there are a lot of other factors overlaying on top of it, such as general precipitation across the basin.
That was Ryan Connon, the NWT's chief hydrologist. He was speaking with the CBC's Shannon Scott about the filling of the Site C dam in British Columbia. Meanwhile, an algae bloom spotted last week in Great Slave Lake is not toxic. Cyanobacteria, or blue-green algae, was reported on August 18th along the Rotary Boardwalk in Yellowknife. The NWT's Environment Department and the Canadian Coast Guard tested samples from various locations in the area, and the results showed no toxins present.
However, we found that there were no detectable levels of microcystins, which are one of the main forms that are present during the cyanobacteria blooms if they're making them. And microcystins are a liver toxin, which can have effects on people and animals in the water. So it's really good news that we didn't find this within the water of these blooms.
Cedar Wall says the water quality meets Health Canada's guidelines for drinking and recreation, but it is best to exercise caution where these blooms are visible. He says ingesting it can cause flu-like symptoms and nausea in humans, and in pets, it can cause neurological and liver damage. Cedar Wall says cyanobacteria blooms continue to be reported in Yellowknife Bay and the North Arm, and that blooms may occur until mid-September. The Yukon government says it's launched an independent review into the heap leach failure at the Eagle Gold Mine. It says the review is needed to find what caused the failure. It'll also look into the company's operation of the heap leach facility. 3 technical experts are on the board. The Yukon government says the First Nation of Nacho Dun is also welcome to join the review process. The First Nation told media earlier this week that it wanted a public inquiry, not an independent review. The review is expected to take 6 to 8 months. In Alberta, some students from the Tsuut'ina Nation are returning to school after an exceptionally busy summer. A business invited the teens to be interns through a partnership with an Alberta nonprofit. And, as Taylor Brott tells us, they gained more than just work experience.
16-year-old Aurora Big Plume spent her summer in the busy kitchen of the Grey Eagles Hotel and Casino restaurant.
I love working in the kitchen. I definitely see a future in it now.
Along with new skills, she says she also gained a new mindset.
Our youth don't believe in themselves, I would say. I have friends who just aren't doing the best, and this really just turns our view around for how we can succeed in our futures.
Big Plume has now been hired on a part-time basis. 17-year-old Marcus Manywounds worked in guest services.
Sometimes people could be, kind of mean or so, and so you have to learn how to adapt to that. And I think this job gave me a lot of confidence to interact with more people.
Careers works with in-demand industries. The Indigenous Youth Program helps students sidestep barriers to employment.
It really is just all about giving them that first opportunity, and then those doors open. In some cases, those challenges might be, transportation. They may have issues getting to the job and back, and sometimes it's cultural, right? Having people on site that understand their culture, having an elder around can really make that big difference for that first job.
Colleen Waskowicz-Runner is a guest services manager at the Grey Eagle and an elder on Tsuut'ina Nation. She helped bring the program to the Grey Eagle.
They came in, they were so shy, so innocent, haven't experienced life, and I seen them grow as young people, and it was so awesome to see that.
As part of the program, students also gain credits towards high school. Taylor Brott, CBC News, Calgary.
New GDP numbers out today show the economy continues to chug along despite high interest rates. Scott Peterson has the details.
This GDP report is showing like a 1-2 punch. In one hand, the second quarter grew faster than economists were expecting at a 2.1% rate. That's actually the fastest growth that we've seen in a few years, and it's higher than it was in the first quarter. So these all sort of show signs that the economy is showing somewhat more resilient than economists were expecting, but there are signs that the economy is slowing. For the month of June, the last month in the second quarter, for example, showing pretty much a flat reading, as Statistics Canada believes that July will be pretty flat the same. It would have been even lower, that GDP rate, instead of the 2.1, but if not for government spending, up 11% on an annualized basis and up pretty dramatically for that quarter alone. Also, we saw reductions in manufacturing and construction, mining, oil and gas, wholesale trade, and overall the output is slowing. Economists believe that the first half of this year was strong, owing to a lot of people coming into the workforce as well, but household spending is slowing to 0.6% for the latest quarter, and that's well down from a 3% growth in the last two quarters before that. And what that means is that is really the bread and butter of the economy. 2/3 of the economy is dependent on you, me, and everyone else spending money, and we're not seeing that, and that's directly attributable to high interest rates and people being a little bit more selective with what they're spending on. So far, the reaction from economists are we are going to see another rate reduction from the Bank of Canada next week, another quarter-point reduction. That'll be a third in a row, but economists believe that we're going to see another couple of rate reductions before the end of the year, and that's probably welcome news to a lot of Canadians out there with high debt levels and potentially refinancing their mortgages. Scott Peterson, CBC News, Toronto.
Oh, imagine how good the TV is going to look now.
And spoiler alert.
No! Don't panic.
Don't panic.
Cut to. Well, we're not cutting to.
Which ladies want to watch?
Look out! It's drama.
Oh.
I'm ready for it.
Triple. Homicide accepted.
Everything all right here?
Yeah. Is there a problem?
We got a call about a disturbance.
I just think there's something really off about this guy.
I've lived through today, this day, before. I need you to believe me and tell me I'm not completely crazy.
What would you be prepared to do if you had one more chance?
Anything.
Welcome to Plan B Agency. Select your desired destination.
Breaking news that shapes your world. With local CBC Radio 1 Live to connect us closer to home. It's news you can trust, delivered when you want, where you want. On the CBC News app. Download for free.
Imagine how good the TV's gonna look now.
Oh, God! This is incredible.
Did you know this?
As if.
Could the pressure be any higher?
Moments that are so on trend right now. Ticket pricing, artificial intelligence, being a Swiftie. Commotion, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
A decorated World War II veteran from Whitehorse has died. Joseph Novak passed away yesterday morning, a couple weeks shy of his 101st birthday. Novak led a long and remarkable life. He joined the Army when he was 20 and retired as a Lance Corporal. In 2021, he was awarded the highest National Order of France, a knighthood. That same year, he donated over $1 million to the Yukon Hospital Foundation and created a bursary for Indigenous students at Yukon University. When he turned 100 last year, he said the secret to his long life was in his 73-year marriage to his late wife, Mary. Joseph Novak was 100. Whitehorse RCMP say officers are still seeing an increase in property crime. A number of downtown business owners and residents have been sounding the alarm in recent months. RCMP confirmed today that officers have been responding to more break-ins. A handful of people appear to be behind a large number of incidents. RCMP says there have been arrests made in relation to recent break-ins at downtown businesses and that the cases are now before the courts. There's also been a large increase in thefts from vehicles, as well as thefts of vehicles themselves. Police officials say the city has seen spikes like this before, and they're responding with the resources they have available.
Yeah, so I will say we are fully staffed at the Whitehorse detachment right now. I would be remiss in saying that any police chief, anybody in command of any detachment or any division wouldn't love more members in this day and age.
McLaren says the Whitehorse detachment got 3 additional positions this fiscal year. That brought its total number of officers up to 43. It's a way to give power and culture back to babies. A sewing circle in Whitehorse is creating regalia for infants. The Council of Yukon First Nations has been hosting the event throughout the summer. Virginie Ann shows us the creations.
I think I would start it in the middle and then go all the way down around.
Between needles, sparkles, baby tears and laughter, baby Naomi is not missing one bit of what her mother is doing, sewing her little slippers. The young mother says she learned some techniques from her aunties back in Little Salmon Carmack's First Nation, but it was the birth of her daughter that tied it all together.
Once I found out I was pregnant with Naomi, I started coming to these programs more, and to me it's really special to me. I'm actually keeping everything that I make for her so she could see it when she grows up. I also want to teach her how to sew and stuff when she gets older.
Gage is one of the mothers that have been attending the sewing circle. The women are here to share patterns, to create something very special for their babies, and to reclaim a tradition that they say has been lost.
Babies back in the day were born and seen with a lot of power, and through colonial practices, babies began to be seen more as weak. Our vision was to start bringing back ceremonial practices and really lift up the babies and our families that we work with here at CYFN. It brings a lot of joy to me, and just having that safe culturally safe space for our families to gather and share. Sometimes we hear birth stories. Sometimes families are sharing just where they're at in life, just enjoying each other, enjoying company.
And of course, a fashion show is in order after all this work. Kwalindon Cultural Center will be hosting a baby celebration on September 16th. Babies will be sporting their own hand-sewed regalia. CYFN will have extra for families who weren't able to attend the workshops. Virginie Anne, CBC News, Whitehorse.
In Alberta, the Stoney Nakoda Nation is celebrating an official moment of reclamation. The town of Morley is about 45 minutes west of Calgary, and it's had that name, Morley, for more than a century. But now, the town is returning to its traditional name. Terry Trembath has that story.
An historic celebration, a ceremony to mark the official naming of Minithni, meaning cold water in the Stoney language. Chiniki Nation Chief Aaron Young says it's important to acknowledge this is not a renaming.
It's not name change. We've always had this name. We've always had it, and it's always been with us. And to me, it brings profound happiness, prestige, and appreciation for the fact that over the years, our ancestors have told us that this is where we are, this is where we'll be buried, and to hold that true to this day and to carry it on to our next generation, it is meaningful.
Chiniki Nation member Lindsay Wesley says she feels empowered and hopeful.
Reclaiming our identity is so important to myself, my family, my community, my nation. And this is just a beginning, but we've had renamings before, but this is a real tremendous event. We've always been Minithni, and it's good to know it'll be on the map as Minithni.
Good Stoney Nation Chief Clifford Poussette says Minithni is just one of many traditional names given to the land by the ancestors.
They named this place. Up in Bighorn is Waptamnuda. Down in Eden Valley, it's Kahna. So we have our own traditional community names already, before even the white settlers came.
In 1873, Methodist missionary John McDougall named it Morley after his friend, a reverend who opened a store and post office on the current town site. Bearspaw Nation Chief Darcy Dixon says restoring the name is part of a bigger roadmap.
Moving beyond sort of the issues we've had with trying to re-identify ourselves or gain back who we are as people in this area.
Moving forward by shedding the colonial past, one name at a time. Terry Trembath, CBC News, Minithni.
In Saskatoon, the best water skiers in the world are making a splash. The city's local water ski club is hosting its first ever professional water skiing competition this week. Elite athletes are competing for cash prizes and the Canada Cup. Check it out.
I've been doing this since I was, 3 years old, but I didn't really start training and competing until I was probably about 9 or 10. My parents were both some of the best water skiers, or the best water skiers in the world. So it was always expected that I would follow in their footsteps and become a water skier. But yeah, with my dad's Canadian background, and I think as most kids do, I kind of wanted to do my own thing, and I ended up playing hockey for a while and fell in love with that, and ended up going to prep school in Boston for 4 years. And when it came time to choose college, that was kind of when it was, okay, do you want to come back to Florida and be a water skier, or do you want to stay up north and play some hockey? And it was a hard decision, but in the end, I chose to come back and to ski in the warmth in Florida. And I can't really, I miss hockey a lot, but I can't complain because it's been an awesome ride so far.
We've got 9 nations here, so the elite of the world in slalom, trick, and jump, and some of the men's jumpers, women's jumpers, of course. Really easy to watch and enjoy. It's as simple as one person goes further than the other, but there's nothing like it. The acceleration, the visuals of the water, the athletes doing some of the aerials in the trick event, it's really impressive. We're super excited. I mean, words don't allow you to describe it accurately. It's the first time ever. We've done a lot of amateur competitions in Saskatchewan and in Saskatoon, but this is a notch up for sure.
every time I'm here, you know, it's upgraded, and you know, it's always been a good place to ski, and now every time we come back, it's just getting better and better. So I think we're all really excited to see what happens. I had a big injury last year. I had an ankle injury that took me out for pretty much the whole season. So for me, this year's been kind of a slow build back up, and you know, I had a good start on our tour, our overall tour, and finished second at the first event. You know, I'd like to win, and that's always the goal. And then in jump as well, you know, I've been, you know, my dad was one of the best jumpers, or you know, I think he was a 4 or 5 time world jump champion. So that's in my blood as well. And my mom was, you know, the best jumper of her time, and that I'm always trying to go out there to push myself and jump and try to be among the top in the world. And I was there the last couple of years, and you know, with the injury last year, I'm coming back slowly, but you know, each tournament I just want to build and keep improving.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. We leave you tonight with some more of the Canadian Grandmasters fiddling competition from Whitehorse last weekend. This is 13-year-old Max Francis from BC. The young fiddle prodigy has made the top 10 at the national event for the last 3 years, including 3rd place this year. What an incredible talent. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a great weekend.
Now for the best waltz, for the last waltz from this afternoon, Max Francis. Presenting Keitha Clark. Now, the People's Choice Award. Max Francis. Presented by Calvin Borab.